Eejanaika Fuji-Q Highland is an S&S 4th dimension coaster, and this ride is insane. There really isn't another way to describe this coaster. This behemoth of a ride is one of 3 like it in the world, along with X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and Dinoconda at China Dinosaurs Park. And in this video, I will review Eejanaika, and since I have also ridden X2, I will be sure to compare the two experiences throughout this review. In short, Eejanaika is a bigger and badder version of X2. It amplifies everything that X2 does, both the good and the bad. Fuji-Q Highland is a park that loves to break records. Fujiyama opened in 1996 as the world's tallest roller coaster. Do-dodonpa opened in 2001 as the world's fastest roller coaster. And then in 2006, the park opened Eejanaika, which was not only the world's tallest, fastest, and longest 4th dimension coaster, but it also broke the record for the most inversions on a roller coaster with 14. And these are all records that Eejanaika has maintained to this day. Now, the inversion record is a point of contention as the track itself only inverts 3 times, but because of the way the seats rotate throughout the ride, you get an additional 11 inversions throughout the whole experience. And that seat rotation is what makes Eejanaika special. This is the main feature of a 4th dimension roller coaster. Unlike the Intamin Zack spins or the S&S free spins where the rides are free spinning, the rotation is controlled in Eejanaika. Aerodynamics unveiled X at Six Flags Magic Mountain in early 2002. Designed by none other than Alan Schilke, this ride was praised for its intensity and uniqueness, but it was absolutely devastating for Aero as a company. The ride cost $45 million to build, and the ride's exorbitant price tag combined with all the delays caused Aero to go bankrupt. The ride also had a series of issues that were addressed in the coaster's $10 million update from X to X2 in 2008. When S&S purchased the assets of Aero, they also purchased the plans for the 4th dimension coaster. S&S was able to use the learnings from X to refine the 4D coaster. This allowed them to offer Eejanaika, a bigger and longer version of the prototype 4D coaster, at roughly 2/3 of the price. Eejanaika cost 3.5 billion yen, or $31.6 million US. The only other 4D coaster this style that has been built is Dinoconda, which opened in 2012 at China Dinosaurs Park. No other 4D coasters like this have been built ever since, presumably because of their price tag. Eejanaika is located in the corner of Fuji-Q Highland. The ride doesn't have much theming, and the ride's name is literally translated to "Ain't It Great?" But the ride looks imposing with its massive size, so it doesn't need theming. When the coaster opened, it had a bright red paint scheme, but it has since been repainted as black. Now, riding Eejanaika can be a time-consuming endeavor. Like all the major roller coasters at Fuji-Q, Eejanaika has a woeful capacity, and it is also extremely popular. This is a recipe for long wait times, even on a quiet day. On the day I visited, Eejanaika was sporting a 90-minute wait. You also have to watch out for bad weather shutting this coaster down, even if it's a light rain. If you don't ride this coaster at rope drop, you have 2 options to bypass the queue line. First, you can use the single rider line. Since this ride loads on both sides of the station, there are 2 separate single rider lines. There is no wait time board, nor a grouper to direct you to a specific side, so you may have to do some scouting which side has the shorter wait. Second, you could purchase a skip the line pass. These are pricey, but if you're like me and won't visit Fuji-Q that often, it is worth it so you have time to experience the rest of the park. These skip the line passes made it so the coaster was just a 2-train wait for me, but that still took roughly 15 to 20 minutes for reasons I'll get into. I also want to note that you cannot hop into line for this coaster right before closing. Like many parks in Japan, Fuji-Q closes the queue line for their major rides early, so the last train goes out right at closing time. Eejanaika took roughly 7 to 10 minutes to dispatch a train. Eejanaika has 2 trains consisting of 5 rows each. When it is your turn to ride, you are assigned a row and placed into a holding pen. If I remember correctly, there are 3 of these holding pens. Japan takes loose articles very seriously, but Eejanaika was arguably the strictest with regards to this. You need to remove everything except your shirt, pants, and socks. I'm not kidding. You need to remove everything from your pockets, but you also need to remove glasses, even if they have a strap, jewelry, and even your shoes. I have never been on another coaster that required riders to remove their shoes. All of your items are safely kept in cubbies in your specific holding pen. Once you board the train, it takes an extremely long time for the operators to check the restraints. This is tedious in X2 as well, but Eejanaika has a few extra seatbelts and operational policies that really slow this process. You have 3 seatbelts in total, so it's a 5-step process to secure each restraint. First, you have to secure a seatbelt across your waist. This isn't there in X2. Second, you have to adjust the height of the butterfly harness. Third, you have to pull the butterfly harness together across your chest. Fourth, you have to buckle the butterfly harness together. Fifth, you have to buckle the butterfly harness into the seat itself. This is another seatbelt that is not present on X2. Then, when the attendant comes by to check your restraint, they will not only verify each component of the restraint themselves, but they will also instruct you to do the same, and they will not move on until they see you do it. I don't fault the operators for the slow dispatches because they're really hustling, but the amount of time needed to verify each component of the restraint is why it takes so long to send out a train. Once secured, the operators begin clapping and hyping you up for your ride. An alarm then sounds and the floor drops. You then crawl out of the station, beginning one of the craziest rides in the world. Now, I touched on this earlier, but you are assigned a row. Like many parks in Japan, you cannot request a row. Fortunately, this coaster is amazing anywhere, but it has a little more power in the back row. I find the same thing with X2. The more important thing for me is whether you're on the inside or outside seat. This is not assigned by the grouper. This just comes down to whether you and your riding partner decide to sit on the inside or outside. I much prefer the inside seat. Eejanaika is not a smooth ride. It is rattly in the high G valleys, and it will throw you around. The ride just feels bouncy. That is especially the case if you're on the outside seat. X2 behaves similarly, but I thought Eejanaika was a bit shakier. I rode Eejanaika in June of 2018, and those with me thought the same thing. Although I know others who have visited at other points and thought Eejanaika was smoother than X2. But whoever you ask, I think everyone will agree that this ride is not what one would consider smooth. The restraints are cumbersome, but thankfully they don't cause headbanging. The roughest part of the ride for me is when the bounces cause you to smack your legs into the hard plastic seat. This was most prominent on the 0G roll and the finale. After you turn 180 degrees out of the station, you ascend a 249-foot or 76-meter tall lift hill. And if you're lucky and visiting on a clear day, you may even see Mount Fuji off to the side. Eejanaika starts exactly like X2. You have a short pre-drop and then one of the best drops in the world. It is one of the scariest moments on any coaster. The drop is both huge and nearly vertical at 89 degrees. You start the drop going backwards, and then you are rotated to face the ground. So you rapidly plunge towards the ground in a similar fashion to Falcon's Fury or Icaros. It is a neat freefall sensation augmented by that visual. But unlike Falcon's Fury or Icaros, where you decelerate as you approach the ground, you just keep accelerating on Eejanaika. And at the last second, Eejanaika will perform a flip at the bottom of the drop. This maneuver is wild and disorienting. You are really going to be thrown around. That is especially true because the pullout will also pummel you with positive Gs, and they're sustained through the start of the next element. The magnitude and duration of the positive Gs reminds me of a pretzel loop on a B&M flyer. The pullout is pretty rattly though, especially if you're on the outside. That leads into a giant Raven turn. At first, this looks similar to the one in X2, except this one has a surprise. After experiencing positive Gs on the way up, this one performs a flip at the top. This caught me off guard. So when you drop back towards the ground, you're performing that flip. And if you're towards the back of the train, you will simultaneously get some nice floater airtime on the drop. It is unreal to get sustained floater airtime while simultaneously flipping. It felt like a more extreme version of the hang time you'd get on a 0G roll, except instead of levitating, it feels like you're being pulled upwards. That's followed by the most disorienting inversion in the world, the 0G roll. What makes this one special is that your seats rotate throughout it. So while you technically stay upright during this element, your body will struggle to process that. And all through this element, you will get several seconds of sustained airtime. The slam back down to your seat can be a bit rough on your legs though, so be prepared. Then comes the far turnaround. On X2, this is a dead spot, but it is fixed on Eejanaika. This turn is taken with more speed, the turn itself is overbanked as well, and the seats rotate slightly. That leads into the half-half. This rides similarly to the one on X2. It rides like a 0G roll combined with a seat flip. You enter this element forwards and you exit it backwards. And during the element, you get some hang time combined with a disorienting flip. You then traverse the second Raven turn, which is arguably the most intense part of the ride. This element feels significantly smaller than everything else on this ride, so you absolutely haul through it. The whip and positive G's through this element are off the charts, especially if you're towards the back of the train. This element can be a tad uncomfortable though, between the rattling in the valley and the slam back into the seat. You then have one last element, an inline twist into the brake run. You snap through this element unbelievably quick, and then you violently slam to a stop while the seats also rock you towards the ground, so you'll lose all sense of direction. This may be the most uncomfortable part of the ride though, as your legs will mercilessly slam into the seats. So what would I rate Eejanaika? I would give this coaster a 9.5 out of 10. It is easily one of the most intense roller coasters in the world. I honestly can't believe this coaster exists because of how extreme it is. The constant flipping and strong G's makes it an endurance test in the best way possible. It's just barely my favorite coaster in Japan over Flying Dinosaur, and is easily one of the best coasters in the world. I also prefer this ride to X2 because it fixes that ride's one dead spot and you have a few extra flips. However, I cannot quite give this ride a perfect score because of the aforementioned shakiness. There are some elements that were a bit uncomfortable, but the good far outweighs the bad, and I'm willing to bear those slight bumps in order to get this intense ride experience each time. So those are my thoughts on Eejanaika, the crazy 4th dimension coaster at Fuji-Q Highland. Have you ridden this coaster? Or have you ridden any of the other 4D coasters? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.